Hello and welcome to the Winging It F1 podcast. We've just had the Belgian Grand Prix a few days ago and it was an absolute classic, and we can expect the same this weekend at Monza, can't we? Freddie and Adam, who join me, we're going to be talking about all of that over the next hour or so. We've got the quiz as well. The quiz is back since Adam returned from his holidays, so it'll be Freddie versus Adam in the quiz. But first, we're going to be talking about a driver who appears, well, not literally appears, but who comes up as a talking point in every single podcast we do. It's Alex Albon. We thought we would do a good 10, 15 minutes on his season so far, what we think of him, our thoughts. I mean, I think everyone knows my thoughts on him already, but since I'm hosting, I'll get to ask some questions instead to Freddie and Adam. So, Adam, I'm going to ask you this as my first question. What has impressed you about Albon so far this season?
Well, firstly, I'm fine. Thank you, Nigel. And I guess Freddie is as well. I don't know.
No, I'm not fine, but carry on.
No, neither am I really. I've got a bit of a cold, so not great. Yeah, I mean, it's not been the best season for Albon. Like, I'm willing to admit that, but I think for me, it's more. I think it's worth giving him the chance, and I don't really see better options around for Red Bull.
You don't really answer the question.
Potential. Yeah, no, I have. I said there's not been much. I think there's been flashes of speed and his kind of racing abilities and good overtakes around the outside. He could have had a podium at Brazil, and at least a podium, probably a win, considering the way he kind of overtook Hamilton pretty easily at or looked to have got the move done. Austria won, so he has kind of shown flashes, but you know it's not what Red Bull will have wanted by this stage. But I do think he's doing a lot better than Gasly had been doing. Okay. In that respect,
Freddie, do you think Albon has been doing better than what Gasly did at Red Bull?
I do actually. Yeah, I think there's a kind of a sort of a misconception of what the role is. Like, he's not supposed to be overtaking Verstappen every week. He's not supposed to be on par with his pace, because Verstappen is arguably one of the best drivers in Formula One in the world. So Red Bull have got him, and they know that. They market him as the best. So they're not going to sit there and say, well, if Albon's not matching or beating him, then, you know, we should get rid of him, because that's completely different. That's why Bottas has stayed at Mercedes for so long, because he's just about there with Lewis, but Lewis is the best of all time in Formula One. So you can't ask for someone to be on a par with that and not expect it to be like a really hard thing to do, but like really hard. And so with Albon and Gasly, is they were a bit in deep water with this in terms of pace, and they're both at a sort of a similar level with pace, but for Albon, I think he's just done a bit better in the races. His ceiling seems a bit higher than Gasly's, and he doesn't seem to be in quite the same sort of mental state that Gasly was. Gasly seemed to be a bit like, I don't know what to do, whereas Albon seems to be a bit more willing to try, basically, I think. And I think that's, as a benefit, I think that's there. But like, Albon's not there to be the next Verstappen.
No.
And I think lots of people they say, oh, he's qualified that far off, but like, he's qualified that far off Max Verstappen.
Did they not expect him to be closer?
I think he's... Yeah, you do expect him to be a bit closer. You're right with that. But, like, you sort of look at the progression of Verstappen's seasons in Formula One. Like, out-qualified by Sainz, but he was really young. And he's still getting older and still growing up with it. So, like, then he moved to Red Bull, and he sort of took a bit of time to get on top of that. Then 2017 kind of on a par with Ricciardo. Then 2018 surpassed Ricciardo. If Ricciardo had stayed, we don't know how far ahead Verstappen would have been of Ricciardo in that year. He could just be learning at such and such a rate that even if Ricciardo was there, we wouldn't be able to keep up now, perhaps. We don't know this kind of thing. I mean, comparing teammates in different situations is obviously a cardinal sin in Formula One. But it's like Verstappen is young. He's 22, going on 23 this month. So yeah, he's so young. He's still got his ceiling so much there still to learn, I think. So I think if this was the conversation maybe 2 or 3 years ago, then Albon and Gasly would have been closer. If there was the Albon and Gasly now.
I think it's just to dive in on Verstappen quickly. I think it is interesting looking at his career progression, and I guess comparing it a bit to Lewis's, in that they both kind of came in, or once they joined a top team, kind of obviously showed great potential, but kind of whereas Lewis was probably a bit better to start with, but then plateaued and went a bit off the rails at McLaren at times with the way that was going, and then it was when he got to Mercedes that he kind of really was able to consistently unlock his potential. And I feel like Verstappen's got to that stage now. It's kind of like he's made the jump really quickly, and he's improved, as Freddie said, like season on season. And I don't think he's on Hamilton's level. I don't think he's better than Hamilton, but I think there could be a conversation on that.
How come you don't think he's better than Hamilton?
Just because Hamilton's so good. Yeah, just because Hamilton is so consistently so good in every single area. And like when I was away, you were talking about it, and you couldn't really think of a weakness of him. And I think it's just because Hamilton is so good, and Verstappen is more than 10 years younger. So when Verstappen gets to that stage of experience in his career, he could be there. But I think to be kind of even to be in that conversation is just incredible for Max.
Some drivers have sort of different peaks, don't they? Sorry, Nige. Like
that's true.
Lewis is like you say, he's had he came in really fast. McLaren just didn't suit him as a character as he grew up, and then Mercedes was able to be like, well, we want to race with Lewis. We don't want Lewis to race with us. Basically that was the kind of mindset, and now he's thrived, and he's been there to do that. Someone like Raikkonen or Vettel, they were really, really fast immediately, and were competing for championships in pretty much their first few seasons with top teams, and in Vettel's case, winning and absolutely making the most of it. And in later seasons, they've sort of appeared to that. Well, Raikkonen definitely has dropped off from the pace that he was. There's no saying that these drivers, no way saying that everyone is currently better than Raikkonen was. Like if you put Giovinazzi in a 2005 McLaren, it's not like he would beat Fernando Alonso. So, like, drivers do also trail off. So it's like drivers have peaks at different times in their career. But I mean, it's not really a defense. It's not like I'm saying let's have 20 years with the same 20 drivers. But like that's kind of like it's a really, really hard thing to take into account as a control of a teammate.
All right. Moving the conversation back onto what we was on about earlier. This time last year, where Pierre Gasly got dropped from Red Bull, at the time, did you both agree or disagree with Red Bull's decision to demote him back to Toro Rosso?
I think at the time I probably did agree with it, or probably I didn't have many reasons why I disagree with it. I didn't feel that strongly on it either way, but it kind of looked like the right decision. Sorry, for where Gasly was. I think having seen Albon come in, maybe they could have given him more time, maybe not, but I'll come on to that later.
If the same happened to Albon now, would you disagree with it?
Yes, because I think it's making the same mistake is well, it's partly who they bring back up to Red Bull. I think that would be part of it, but just in terms of the Albon angle, I think to me, it shows that they haven't really learned from the Gasly thing. I think they should be taking a driver and sticking with it, and there's no reason why Gasly should be that driver over Albon in my mind. So, yeah, I think that's I think that's where I'd be with it. Freddie, what do you think?
I wrote an article around sort of before he was dropped before Hungary, around sort of Silverstone time last year, about Gasly and Giovinazzi at the time, about how they were sort of coming on song a bit. And I thought they both had really difficult starts to this year of Formula One, but that they were getting there. because Gasly had a cracking weekend at Silverstone. He topped a practice session, which it doesn't sound like much, but it wasn't like a practice session where it was bad for everyone else. He just was the fastest in that practice session and that kind of thing. And like, that was undue confidence for him. He was dicing with the Ferraris all race and wasn't actually that far behind in Silverstone. I kind of thought, okay, this is the confidence he needs. He's got to turn around. And I kind of thought, yeah. So clearly there's steps being able to be made. And then in Hungary, nowhere, unfortunately. He just was nowhere. He just couldn't get past. He qualified okay, I think. Just couldn't get past Sainz and probably Raikkonen, it seems to be all the time last year. He just couldn't get past. And it's a bit like, it's hard.
I think Germany
pass that, but they were able to do it. Germany was a bit naff as well. You're right.
I think that was a big race for him. Like it
was a big race for Albon.
Yeah, but also
Albon's
Gasly,
best race last year, I think, was Germany.
And he
never
could well
driven a car in the wet.
Yeah, he could well have got a podium there, but on Gasly, it just kind of felt like that. Because he went off near the end in a decent position, and it kind of felt like if he'd been able to make that stick,
it was a decent
that might
position.
have changed a bit of the narrative or given him some more time in the seat. But that was the final nail in the coffin, I think.
It was a decent position in terms of the 20, but in terms of the 12 cars still running on the track, it was 7th or 8th anyway. So it was still bottom 50%, bottom third of the field. And that wasn't amazing for him. And the reason Kvyat got the podium is because Albon was so far ahead, they couldn't dare gamble a strategy. Gasly ended up so far down and so did Verstappen, because Red Bull completely messed up their torque settings to the start of the race. And you can just look at it from, you've got the 2 Mercedes and 2 Red Bulls. 2 Mercedes just go, the Red Bulls just go, just gently, just don't really go. So in a back-to-back in a line, and Verstappen came back through the field, obviously was fighting the Mercs until they self-destructed, and Gasly just wasn't. And it's just like, he's just not quite doing it. Albon came in. Yes, it was Spa, but back of the grid, finished 5th. Bam, straight overtaking everyone. Round the outside at Brivage on a Renault, which is brilliant. I think Albon came in and did Gasly's job a fraction better.
Okay. It's interesting you both think Gasly's time at Red Bull was better than Albon's now. Because I'm the opposite. I think Gasly was better at Red Bull than Albon is now. I think mainly because of qualifying. I think Gasly, he was a lot closer to Verstappen in qualifying. I'm thinking Monaco, I think he was within a couple tenths, and a few other areas, whereas Albon this year hasn't even qualified within, half a second of Verstappen at either of the 7 races. And that for me is the big letdown because of his pace. But even in the races at Spa, Albon was consistently, 1 second slow. And yes, he wasn't on the right strategy and he might have had traffic, but other races as well, he's consistently, between 7 tenths to 1 second slower every lap, no matter what tyres he's on compared to Verstappen, new or old. And that, for me, is a really worrying thing. And I don't see that improving anytime soon, really. But I think that's...
but then if Gasly was kind of qualifying better and still finishing like below where Verstappen has been, his points, I don't know their exact point scores, but their finishes have been, Albon's had a lot more kind of around the top 6. I'd say that's kind of reflects worse on Gasly if he was qualifying all right, but then Albon's still kind of outscoring him in terms of points and performances over the weekend and on Sunday.
Having a quick look through the figures just now, I just went on the F1 website, and Gasly didn't get out of into Q3 even in the 3 of the first 4 races. The one time he did, he was 9 tenths off Verstappen. Looks like Spain, he was about half a second off. Monaco, he was 4 tenths off. It seems to be the anomaly that he was close as well, from what I've seen just then. They're early races, but the gap didn't close. If you go to some of them, they're just massive gaps. And he's just like, where's Gasly? Oh, he was out in Q1. Oh, okay. It's that kind of thing. It's a bit like the woes were there for both of them in qualifying.
And where do both of you think the Red Bull from last season to this season ranks, or kind of in the grid? Because I think they've not really taken a step forward. Kind of the reason that Mercedes are so far ahead isn't kind of, I don't think it's Mercedes exceptionalism. I think it's more that Red Bull and obviously Ferrari haven't really kept up with that. So I think Red Bull is kind of closer to the midfield battle now than it was last year, and it's only Verstappen's kind of exceptional talent and driving that's keeping them on the podium.
There's no way the Red Bull's a midfield car. I think it's clearly the second best car.
I think it's closer to the midfield, though.
In Spa, the Red Bull
last season,
in the hands of Verstappen, was faster than Leclerc's qualifying time last year, I think. It was quite close to the Ferrari time from the year before, which is the track record. So wherever the times ended up, but it was still a marked improvement on where it was this time last year at Spa, because it didn't take pole position. It was way off. I know they weren't really involved in qualifying so much with one of their cars, definitely, and one crashed out on lap 1 in Spa 2019. But as sort of a base super time, the Red Bull looks faster than it was last year. But if the gap to Mercedes is still obviously there, so if they've made the same jump, it's just the middlemen and Ferrari aren't there, which makes Mercedes look even better than they were last year. I think I need to do a bit more data crunching for that one. But
yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one. We all have different opinions on it. I think what I'd like to see is a driver swap, but not what you're thinking of. I think they should put Verstappen to AlphaTauri to see how quick the AlphaTauri actually is. Because at the moment we don't know how well Gasly is. Is he maximising it? And they should put Gasly back into Red Bull to see who's quicker out of Gasly and Albon. That's what I do just for one race.
I do think it is kind of an issue that I still don't really think we know where the Red Bull is and kind of how far Verstappen's outperforming it and how far Albon's underperforming in it.
Can you? Because there's no way Verstappen has had an amazing qualifying race every time. He's going to have had a bad session at some point this year. But Albon is just not that. It's not near close enough that we don't even know.
Verstappen is physically performing the car. Albon technically then not matching that is underperforming what the car can do, because it's not like Verstappen's cheating.
Okay. Well, I guess, I mean, if you put it's difficult to kind of define, but if you put like an average F1 driver in kind of where they'd be compared to where Verstappen is, because I think, well, I'd use outperforming, but at least kind of getting everything you can, maximising the performance of the car, and there's not kind of other drivers up and down the grid that are doing that.
If we look at Hamilton, though, who's we say is the best driver on the grid, even he has been out-qualified by Bottas and outraced on occasion this year. He's not been exceptional this year all the way through every single qualifying race, and the same is with Max at Red Bull as well. We just don't know. We just don't see those bad sessions because he doesn't have a teammate who's close enough to capitalise on a bad session for Verstappen.
Don't forget also, Bottas is in his 7th year of F1 now. He's a lot more experienced, and he's been with Hamilton for 3 years. He's kind of, I think he's a lot further on.
Yeah. Bottas is arguably in the top. Harsh. Bottas is arguably in the top 5 drivers in Formula One, definitely. To be able to be on that pace, he's got to be one of the top drivers. So I think there's, Albon's probably not at that level.
Albon's not even close, though, is he? He's not even within, like I say, half a second or whatever. So,
but then the other part of the question, if you're saying does Albon deserve his seat, it's who would deserve to have it more than him. And I don't really see. None of the junior drivers have got a super license yet. So it'll be till the end of the season where I think Tsunoda will get promoted. And Gasly, he's doing well this season, but he was doing well in his first Toro Rosso season, and wasn't anywhere near. So who would you put in if you think Albon doesn't deserve his seat at Red Bull? Who do you think does?
Personally, if a Sergio Perez, a Magnussen, or a Hulkenberg, if they were in the Red Bull, I think they would be able to match Verstappen on occasionally.
Really?
Occasionally. On occasion, let's say 2 or 3 races or 2 or 3 qualifiers out of the 7, 8,
okay.
Races
a third
so
of the
far.
time.
Yeah,
like a Bottas to Hamilton relationship.
I reckon that would be fair. Quite fair, because even we talk about Ricciardo, how he got beat, but the last race, Ricciardo and Verstappen, as Freddie's door opens next to him. The last race in Abu Dhabi, I think Ricciardo was there and thereabouts with Max in the race, from what I remember. So Ricciardo never got beat like this, and I know we all rate Ricciardo very highly, but I was just too far away. He's just nowhere near.
We're saying
I don't see him.
We're saying put a Hulkenberg in, but Ricciardo ruined Hulkenberg's career.
Yeah, I don't think he ruined it though.
Well, he was because Albon beat.
COVID.
I think Albon beat or was very close to Hulkenberg last season in his time at Toro Rosso, and the Toro Rosso was a slower car, objectively I think, than the Renault, and he was still. And Albon was next to Hulkenberg. Hulkenberg got kind of outperformed convincingly by Ricciardo. And I think from a 2019 Ricciardo at Renault to a 2020 Verstappen at Red Bull would be a step up again. And Hulkenberg's been out of F1, and he's not kind of been, apart from the races that he was at Racing Point before that, he'd not kind of been around F1, been looking to get back into it. We didn't name him at all in our driver market silly season episode, I don't think. So I don't, he's come back and done well for Racing Point in a kind of 2-off occurrence, but I don't think that should overshadow kind of how it felt like when he left Renault at the end of last year. That was the F1 career, and not many people were kind of clamouring that was wrong.
I disagree with that, because
I think
jumping in straight in the car and matching Stroll, I think that's mightily impressive.
I think the Racing Point this year is incredibly drivable. There's that, but also Hulkenberg, I think he's shown flashes, but he's also shown kind of just sort of moderation over his career. I think there's some bits that have been amazing and some bits that have been a bit which is similar to the Perez, similar to the Magnussen you raised. But I think if any of those drivers go in, they'll be at a similar state to Albon. I don't think they'll go in and do better. I just think Verstappen.
I don't think Verstappen is half a second quicker than like 12 drivers on the grid. I really don't think there's that much of a difference between.
Maybe in a Racing Point then, or something that's an easy car to drive.
Yeah, but the thing is, Albon always...
This Rebel's horrible to drive, they're saying.
Albon has said he has the same problems in a similar driving style than Max. So, and, over the last 3 races, the Red Bull has looked a lot better than, compared to Austria and Hungary. So I'm not sure if those driving issues are still there, to me.
But, yeah, I think also... Well, I think what I'd do is I'd like to see Red Bull just confirm his drive till the end of 2021, and then we'll know for sure whether he's in, or, you can put Gasly in if you want, but, I don't really see the point of taking Albon out, putting Gasly in and just, having to restart with that. But I'd just like to see them kind of settle on Albon until 2021, then get Bottas when Russell goes to Mercedes. That's my call. Or if Albon does come good, then they can keep him on, or they'll be able to make that decision. But just not to just turf him out because he's not done well, at the start of his
That's the
career.
whole point. If you get dumped if you don't do well.
But why? Why should it be like
Because
that?
you're underperforming. If you're doing bad,
so
you should get dropped. It's like football, isn't it? If you underperform for 7 or 8 football matches, you get put on the bench or.
So should Bottas have been dropped in 2018?
No, because he did better than people like.
He was underperforming still. He didn't get a win, and
he would have won in Russia, and he was a lot closer to Hamilton than Albon was. He wasn't half a second away consistently at every race.
But he was still underperforming. I just think they, and especially at Red Bull, they go through drivers. I don't see what you gain by kind of bringing in a Magnussen or a Perez or a Hulkenberg, which might be faster than Max, might not, might be faster than Albon, might not. So, and then, just having that for a couple of seasons where they're not going to be a long-term solution either way. Albon, if you put Albon or Gasly in, sorry, I'll go to Freddie at the end of this, but if you put Albon or Gasly in, and then you've got a definitive answer on them, they could be a long-term option if they come good, and if they don't come good, then that was it, and you've exhausted your options, and at least for certain that that's where you stand with it. That's what I think.
There's been a consensus for years that the Red Bull driver program is cutthroat and harsh and horrific to be involved in if you're a driver who's underperforming. About 5 or 6 years ago, and for a good few years alongside that, the general consensus and discussion was that this is a horrible thing to do. People like Jean-Eric Vergne, Antonio Felix da Costa, who've now gone on to do fantastically well in other categories, Sebastian Buemi, all these fantastic drivers, no, they just weren't there at the right time, ruined their careers in Formula One. And Red Bull have kind of sort of gone with that and gone, we need to sort of change the strategy. And that's why they had to do the Brendan Hartley recall, the Daniel Kvyat recall, because they were a bit like, okay, we're churning in so much that we're actually causing more mess than we are causing success. So for every Max Verstappen, Sebastian Vettel, Daniel Ricciardo, there's about 3 drivers that Red Bull have fired.
5 or 10.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is a sort of change of heart from Red Bull, or because like they're actually thinking, well, hang on a second, rather than we're here to help these drivers. Technically, that's the role of our young driver program, is to help drivers in Formula One, because like we've got as much as we can out of it, really, probably from advertising ourselves as Red Bull. We're here now for these drivers as well at this level, so we've got to let them do well. We've put him here, he's not done well, we've got to let him do well. That's why Gasly's still at AlphaTauri, because now he's doing well in AlphaTauri. So it's like, that's good, that's a success. Gasly is a weird case. He didn't do well at Red Bull. Albon didn't do well, isn't doing that well at Red Bull. Yes, fair enough, we can say that. He hasn't got a podium, Verstappen's got to win. Yes, that's plain to see statistically. They know that he's probably doing a bit better inside than Gasly was, which is their direct comparison of driver. So keep Albon for that matter. And also, he did pretty good at Toro Rosso. And arguably, who knows where he would have been this second season at Toro Rosso. Yeah. So I think the one person who should be wetting himself is Helmut Marko. Has he failed? We don't know.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I think the last thing I'll say for the final question to you both on Albon is, even throughout his junior career, there's, he wasn't, Gasly won F2 and did well in his junior career, but Albon, he was steady. He wasn't shining compared to, say, Hulkenberg, who won in GP2 in 2009, even, Grosjean did well. So I don't see Albon. I think at best, Albon will be a decent midfield driver, but I think Norris, Sainz, Hulkenberg, Perez, Magnussen, to name a few drivers, I think they would do much better than what Albon is at the moment. My final question on Albon is, I think Adam, you've already answered it, is that you think he will be in the seat in 2021. Freddie, what do you think? Do you think he should be in? Do you think he should have the seat next year at Red Bull? Or?
I think it's a really hard one. I think they are going to be looking outside for a bit. Like, I think that is sort of not going to be off their radar. But it's a hard one. I think they will end up keeping him.
Okay.
I think
going back to your
Oh, yeah, keep going.
Going back to your Formula 2 point, Albon came third in Formula 2 to Lando Norris and George Russell. Pierre Gasly won with a hard-fought battle with Giovinazzi. And then the only other people I can sort of remember from that series were Sorokin and Alex Lynn, I think, in that year. And I just kind of think, I don't know, I'm not going to say Gasly had an easier ride of it because he still won the championship, but I'm going to say Gasly had a slightly easier ride of it in GP2 than Albon would have done in Formula 2, I think.
I think
that
Gasly's
opens up so
junior
much
career
more.
was more impressive, personally, if you look at it on paper. Obviously, I wasn't around. I wasn't watching Pierre Gasly before 2016, but, looking at the internet and stuff.
It's like his third season in GP2 or something, I think.
Yeah, he had that run of, was it a ridiculous amount of races where he didn't win? Yeah. As well. Yeah.
I think on what you said before about him at best being a midfield driver in the future, I think he was a good midfield driver last year in Toro Rosso, which wasn't really a midfield team. It was a bit behind that kind of battle. So I do think there's a future in F1 for him, inside or outside the programme. And also just, I don't know how much Red Bull would have to gain for changing, because
to build a team, because Albon's not the driver to build a team around.
But Verstappen is. They're not going to be beating. They're not going to be beating Mercedes. They're not going to be beating Mercedes like this year or next year anyway. Because Verstappen, even though he's incredible, he's still at Bottas's level. He's not, in terms of Verstappen in a Red Bull is at Bottas's level in a Mercedes. So they're not going to be able to beat Mercedes either way, I don't think, until 2022. So I feel like that's why I don't think, if you bring like a Hülkenberg or a Magnussen in next season, even if they do kind of do better than Albon, kind of, do perform at their ceiling, I don't really, you won't get that many podiums anyway, because Hamilton and Bottas and Verstappen seem to be the top three. But I don't see what they have. I just don't see what they really have to gain over the next year in kind of bringing in a quick fix. I think they should be looking longer term and finding out if Albon or Gasly is going to be in that long term picture, and if not, they should go out and get Bottas.
I find it a strange reason, though, to say, we won't be battling for the championship, so let's just stick with a driver who we all agree on is underperforming consistently. That's really...
After 1.5 seasons in F1, not even that, because it's, one and a bit, less than a half.
Basically,
but it's still underperforming. If you look at Sergio Perez's first season in F1 or Hülkenberg, they were, quite good. They were, occasionally beating their teammates and stuff, and they were on the pace. Oh.
Yeah, but Alex Albon was occasionally beating his teammate Daniel Kvyat and was arguably on the pace.
Yeah, but if you look at, say, Perez at McLaren in 2013, he was right with Button, who was a world champion in the prime of his career. Verstappen isn't even at the prime of his career yet. And Albon hasn't even got close. I just want him to have one good qualifying or race.
I think Verstappen now is better than Button in 2013, I'd say.
Oh, yeah. But I'm talking like relative compared to your team.
Perez was given a bad rap in 2013. But we weren't around then to discuss that. So was Magnussen in 2014 and 15 and so on. But
neither of them were anywhere near as bad as what Albon's doing now. That's my point. Like the bar has changed. If Gasly wasn't a thing and we had Albon now, underperforming, everyone would be saying, "Oh, he should get sacked, whatever." But only because of what happened to Gasly, and we all giving him a bit more.
But then,
what do you call it? Not sympathy.
Due.
Yeah, due. Yeah.
But then, why should Red Bull? Why should they have to treat Albon the same as they did Gasly when they probably didn't handle the Gasly situation as well as they could have? And I just don't see why they should have to make the same mistake by sacking Albon so early.
I don't think it was a mistake. I think the mistake was I personally, at the time, this time last year, I said Kvyat should have been at Red Bull. Personally, that's what at the time. I don't know about that now, but yeah, those are my thoughts at the time.
I feel like we're going around.
Better. Yeah, we are.
Yeah. I think we're going around in circles, but kind of, I think just to sum up, my kind of thoughts are, I don't think Albon is performing at the level that Red Bull would want. I'm not going to try and argue that. I think he's doing better than Gasly did, and I feel like Red Bull would gain a lot more by thinking long term and exhausting the Albon option and, finding out definitively where they stand with him by the end of next season before looking outside the programme or before kind of changing. I think they've been too cutthroat before, and I feel like they should be changing their approach a bit on that.
Last question, I promise. Do you think, so what for this season, Adam, do you think Albon should do, for you to say he's all right, he's doing decent, he should stay?
I mean, being in the top 5, top 4 consistently would be a start. And then, kind of podiums, and probably podiums is the ceiling, I think, for him.
And in terms of pace, how far away do you think you should be in, say, qualifying or laps in the race?
Oh, that's an awful question.
Yeah, that's quite difficult. So I'm going to pass over to Freddie to answer
that. Well, yeah, obviously you want it to be within a few tenths. Ideally on race pace is where you want that to be, because qualifying pace is a bit, at absolute limit is, a hard one to judge. What I will say, to determine that, Red Bull need to put him on a normal strategy for once in their entire lives. Because rather than putting him on the mediums, say, and then them going off, or rather than putting him on the hards in Barcelona, which don't work, or rather than putting him on like random laps in Silverstone,
lap 0 on Silverstone,
rather than just doing random stuff with him to see if it will work, just put him on the normal strategy. Don't try and be contra with him, because that's then going to.
He has had the normal strategy.
He hasn't had the normal strategy.
Yes, he has. Austria 2.
Austria 2. Finished fourth.
What was not normal? And how far away was he?
20 seconds, 30 seconds?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, that's 20 seconds, 30 seconds away on the normal strategy, rather than 2 positions away on a bonkers strategy. You argued my point very well, Nigel. Thank you.
I think the thing is, the thing about the strategy is, at least then we will kind of have a more definitive answer. If we see 5 races with him on the normal strategy over the next 6, then we'll know a lot more. Whereas at the moment, it's not. So it's a lot more subjective, because we've not seen a like-for-like comparison so far. We talked about this last time. But Nigel, do you want to sum up your position on
I mentioned about he can't even get into Q3 and the mediums and stuff. I'm not going to get into that, because we'll go on for another half an hour. Yeah. Personally, if I was Red Bull, I would look outside the driver program for the next 2 or 3 years. Bring in a Perez, a Hulkenberg, a Magnussen, that type of driver, and then put Gasly and Albon at AlphaTauri to see who comes out on top. That's what I would do.
That would be a mean pairing, to be fair. That would be so good. Albon and Gasly at AlphaTauri. I'd love to see that.
This is a shootout every session.
Right, I think that's enough Albon talk for one day, guys. We'll talk about him on Sunday, I'm sure, after he wins the race at Monza. And yes, it is Monza this weekend. It's Italian Grand Prix. Freddie is very excited. It's a track he loves. Well, Freddie loves all the tracks, really, don't you? So, yeah. What is it you love about Monza, Freddie?
It's tether of speed, isn't it? It's great. It's just one of those sort of tracks with a bit of charm to it, isn't it? The banking in the background, the fact that these cars are just being pushed to their limit. Slow speed, high speed, but it has to be high speed. Then you've got your Rhett Filios, your Curva Grandes, your Lesmos, all of that, and just the history there is brilliant, isn't it? Love it.
Adam, what are your thoughts on the weekend ahead of Monza? Do you think with no fans there, it's going to be a bit different compared to last year, where the sea of fans, come out onto the home straight as they do after every race?
Although I feel like even if there were fans, Ferrari are, the difference in performance with Ferrari compared to last year would kind of put make it a bit muted anyway. So I don't think we'll kind of lose out as much as we would, if you didn't have fans last year when Leclerc won. It will feel different, but yeah, it's still, as Freddie said, a good track, on track, and there are interesting storylines to follow as usual.
So yeah, shall we talk about Ferrari then? It was one of the worst weekends, in recent F1 history at Spa. How do we feel they will go this weekend? Will they more of the same? Will they struggle to get out in Q1? What do you think they'll do this weekend, to be honest?
More of the same. Yeah. Just a bit of a struggle, frankly. Hard to see how they can do better.
Adam?
Yeah, same, really. They're just in trouble at the moment, and I don't really see how they're going to change that unless they brought an illegal engine back. Then they're going to be in trouble.
I don't think they'll be as bad, to be honest. I know there's a lot saying, they're one of the slowest cars, but I do think Spa was an outlier for them because they were okay in Spain, compared to Spa at least. I know they're still not where they wanted to be, but I do expect them to be on that Spain, Silverstone level, I guess, in the mid-pack with Renault, McLaren. Maybe not, maybe just behind, but I think they'll be closer because I think the problem at Spa was they went for a low downforce setup because of their engine is so bad. And in the mid-sector, in the corners, I think Vettel said after the race they weren't getting the temperatures into the tyres. So that's why they were so slow in the mid-sector as well, coupled with the bad engine. And I think with higher temperatures at Monza and everyone going with the low downforce setup, I do think they would have. They're going to be better than they were at Spa, personally.
I think Monza, there's kind of more straight, flat out running, and it was. I don't know how many times Leclerc got overtaken on the Kemmel Straight, but it was one of the stories of the week.
25 billion.
Yeah, so there's kind of more of that, I think, which it's not going to.
Yeah. I think Leclerc might have had a problem. I don't think it's come out on the big news, but I think Leclerc's engine wasn't at 100%.
No, they're not running enough fuel in it, are they? They're not.
At his pit stops, at his second pit stop, I forget what it was, but it was some liquid. It might have been water in the engine, but they had to refill the engine with something that wasn't fuel because. Is
that what it was?
Yeah, it was like a slow.
They did have some kind of issue with all the pit stops, didn't they?
On the first pit stop.
Slow.
On the first pit stop, it was a tyre, but then the second one for it was like there wasn't a problem on any of the tyres. They were attaching something to refill it or something like that. It was kind of deliberately slow because it had to be on the second pit stop.
All right. Okay. So, do you both think they will fail to score points once again on Sunday?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and unless there's kind of a crazy race, then yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, because on pace. Oh yeah, I was just going to say on pace they won't.
Okay. Yeah. For once, I think I am the optimist for Ferrari. I do believe they will be better. And like I said, Spa was an outlier for them, but
you'll be backing Albon next.
Maybe. So a team that we are expecting to do well is, of course, Renault. They got 4th and 5th at last year's Italian Grand Prix, I think. Yeah, they did. And obviously, Daniel Ricciardo set the fastest lap of the race last week at the weekend at Spa to get within, I think, 4 or 5 seconds of former teammate Max Verstappen. Do you think that Renault could get on the podium, and will it be a surprise if they do?
No, it won't be a surprise. Yes, they probably could. That's the wrong way around.
It's not going to be a surprise.
It's not going to be a surprise if they do.
How come?
Because they're fast on these kind of tracks. And
So you think they're going to beat Verstappen, Bottas and Hamilton?
I think they could beat one of them if one of them has any issues. I mean, if it wasn't, they beat Red Bull last year. I can't remember any of the issues with penalties and whatnot that you normally get in Monza. But last year, if Ferrari wasn't there, which they won't be this year, then Ricciardo would have been third, and that's that. So, I think that lends itself pretty well to a Renault, which is performing better this year on these kind of tracks than it did last year anyway.
Okay.
I don't think they will, because I feel like they're still a bit inconsistent. I don't like. I feel like this. Yeah, last weekend was a good one. Last weekend was a good one, and then they're kind of due a bad one now. And I think it's two things. One, that I think everything would have to come together for them to get it in terms of them kind of maximising probably Ricciardo's race weekend, and the other is I still think even if they do that, one of Verstappen, Hamilton, and Bottas would have to have issue, and so I don't think they will, but I don't think I'd be too surprised if they did either.
I think Mercedes are they're going to get 1-2, but I think Verstappen is vulnerable to Ricciardo and Ocon, because I think in the first sector at Monza, where it's just straight line, then a very slow speed chicane, then another flat out section, I think Renault could even be the fastest car there, because in the low speed corners, the Renault is probably only the Mercedes is better than Renault. I think the medium and high speed corners is Renault's main weakness, and at Monza, there are quite a few medium speed corners at Monza, yes, but I think in the first sector at least, Renault will be really, really strong. So then, I think they can give Verstappen a good fight, and if Ocon is on the pace as well, they can do something with strategy to try and outfox Max. Maybe if Ricciardo tries to undercut Verstappen, say, and Ocon goes long and then tries to come back at the end, they can do something with that, because they've got two good drivers in the team. And but Verstappen hasn't had the best form at Monza. Well, Red Bull always take grid penalties, don't they? We don't really know how well they go, because last year in the race, Verstappen started at the back. He had an incident, but his pace was actually okay. So it'll be interesting to see how Red Bull go with a clean weekend, I guess. I also want to see Renault just throw in a brand new engine with Ricciardo, just to throw it all in and try to get the podium. But yeah, that's what I think is going to happen. Adam doesn't think that Renault will get a podium. Me and Freddie do, I think so. Yeah,
I think Renault can get a podium.
Oh, can.
Yeah, I think it'll be a fight, but
I think
it'll be interesting to see.
Maybe 2 or 3 times out of 10, Renault would get a podium. If you ran the race,
1 in 5 chance of Renault getting a podium.
Yeah, but so I think it's possible.
That's high.
Yeah, maybe a bit too high to be fair, but yeah, I think there is a possibility, but a low possibility. So yeah, I think it will be the normal 3 podium.
Okay, let's talk about the party mode ban, which me and Freddie ranted and rambled on about a couple of weeks ago after the Spanish Grand Prix, when the news came that every driver and every team will have to use the same engine mode in qualifying as they will in the race. The only exception is if they've got a reliability problem, which I'm sure the teams will definitely not fake. And the intention is that it will claw back Mercedes, but me and Freddie think it will actually do the opposite, and it will help Mercedes. Adam, what are your thoughts on it since you weren't with us a couple of weeks ago?
In terms of the ban itself, we don't have to go into it too much, because obviously you both did, but I just don't like it at all. I think it's just such a blatant way of slowing Mercedes down on paper, and I don't think it'll work, or I don't think it'll kind of have the desired effect. And B, just kind of the ideological thought of it, kind of just slowing, just such a blatant way of slowing the cars down It's just not what I want to see, and I think a lot of people don't want to see in F1. But I do wonder, is it linked to the Racing Point scandal as well? Because it will harm them and Williams, but Williams. But I feel like a conspiracy could be that they've kind of brought it in partly to slow down Mercedes, but also to hurt Racing Point and kind of bring in a way of slowing down them, so it's less of a problem. They're less likely to be kind of fighting up at the front, which is where the biggest problems, that's what incenses Renault and Ferrari so much. And Renault have withdrawn their, I don't know if the two are connected, they're probably not, but it's fun to hypothesize. Renault have withdrawn their appeal against Racing Point as the ban is coming in, and Renault said that it was the reason they've withdrawn it is because the conversations between the teams and the FIA had led to concrete progress in safeguarding originality. Could that actually just mean they slowing Racing Point down? Who knows?
I like this theory. I really like. I didn't think of that. That is a good theory, and F1 is very political behind the scenes. A lot goes on.
In the scenes.
But that is a good theory. It's interesting. Racing Point were a lot slower in Spa than many of us expected. And I believe, Mercedes apparently didn't even run their party mode in Spain. And I'm not sure if they didn't run it in Belgium as well. And there's rumours that Racing Point did the same at Spa. They didn't run the party mode, which is why they were so far down. So it's kind of scary in a way. If they didn't run the party mode, yet they still got a few points.
We don't know what party modes Renault and Honda were running and stuff like that.
True. But Verstappen was half a second away from the Mercs, and I think
Verstappen was a tenth away from Bottas.
Oh, but yeah, 100th.
100th.
There we are then.
Yeah.
100th away from Bottas.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot to say about it being designed to clip the wings of Mercedes. Mercedes have said, actually, to be honest, it probably would make it a bit better in terms of engine mileage, in terms of we can actually run a little bit faster in the race then, because we're not wearing out the engine so much in qualifying. And that's kind of fair enough. I think they have said also that they can turn it up and down turn it down even if engine wear is going to come into it. So that would just mean that they can just run it at full spec and then say, oh no, I need to turn it down. I can turn it up again. Hooray. And I'm
not sure.
That just seems to be a bit of a loophole. Yeah, quite a blatant loophole, but
I'm not sure kind of how much I buy Mercedes. I feel like they say it wouldn't affect them regardless. I don't know. I'm kind of not. Yeah, I feel like they're going to kind of be quite bullish about it regardless. I mean, I'm not saying it won't necessarily. I'm not saying kind of either way whether I think it will, hurt them or not. But I feel like either way, Mercedes would have come out and said this statement.
I kind of think Mercedes seem to say every week, oh, we're the slowest car, So when they're actually saying they're the fastest car, they're going to be the fastest car.
Okay. Which teams do you think will gain the most, or which teams will get hurt the most from this change in regulations?
Just one other thing on the loophole that they put in. I feel like that's probably to prevent a situation like Raikkonen, and I can't remember which race it was, when he was at McLaren and his tyre blew on the last lap.
2005 Nürburgring.
Nürburgring. I feel like it's kind of put in to stop a situation like that where they, so that they're not, if the driver's got engine wear, and then they're, could lose the race, but if they turn it down, they're all right. I feel like it's put in for that, so it didn't become a farce from there.
Doesn't become a farce.
If that would be good if the driver's leading and then, oh no, I can't turn my engine down, and then his tire, and then his engine blows. That'll be exciting.
It'd be good if it's Lewis or Bottas, but if it's like
Daniel Ricciardo this weekend when he's winning,
if it's Verstappen or Ricciardo, then people are going to go nuts at the FIA for it. So
it works.
Nicholas Latifi is leading the Ferrari Italia 1000 Tuscan Grand Prix.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
With 1 lap to go.
Yeah.
and his Mercedes engine, which has been running at full quali mode, explodes, completely destroying the back end of his car. Everyone would be like, "No,
And the back end of Italy.
The back end of Italy. Yeah, everyone would be like, "No,
Sorry.
Latifi, poor Latifi."
Sorry, Nigel. I
He
didn't
won't get
answer
his
your
first
question at all
points.
there.
Huh?
I
Sorry,
think
Nigel,
Williams
didn't
will be
answer
the
your
most
question at
hurt.
all there. Yeah, I think Williams will be the most hurt. Them
Yeah.
Racing Point.
All right, so the Mercedes engine guys will be hurt the most, you think? So then, who's going to gain the most?
Haas and Alfa Romeo.
Ferrari? Yeah.
This is where
or
my Ferrari theory
engine.
comes in. This is why I think Ferrari will do better.
I
What
like
does FIA stand for?
Yeah.
What does it actually stand for? Federation
Ferrari is an
International...
Ferrari
international
International
assistant.
Assistant.
No. What does it actually
Federation
stand for?
Internationale Automobile.
That's it. I didn't actually know what it actually stood for.
Well, I quite liked when it came in, and the Ferrari drivers were kind of like, well, we don't really have a party mode, so doesn't really affect us. Yeah, no, we don't. But I feel like they'll gain the most. They'll still be. It won't do enough, anywhere near enough for a power circuit like Monza to get Ferrari, anywhere near kind of the top 5 or whatever. I think, but they'll gain the most from it.
In terms of racing, do you think this ban is going to help it, or is it going to create more drama and excitement, or not?
I don't really know. I don't really know whether they're going to really still have like an overtake push button like they do with their kind of curve system.
they are.
Yeah.
So
I think they are.
You can't change it though, can you? So that's the thing.
So is it going to be just a bit more like, really depends on what engine modes people run. I mean, it's just going to be the same, isn't it?
Isn't it the like ERS energy? They can still deploy
but,
that.
in terms of like the strap modes, like strap mode 2, strap mode 8.
Oh,
yeah, they
stuff
can't.
Like that. If they can't change that, then how can you attack and stuff? That's my main concern, especially in the midfield.
It's more pure. It's like a kart race.
Yeah, yes, DRS, but you also use
ERS.
Oh, ERS.
Yeah.
Also DRS.
Yeah,
they can use that as their kind of overtake mode.
Everyone will have a similar thing though when you use it at the same part of the track though, because the teams will, you do simulations to find the optimum areas to deploy it and program it and stuff. I think.
But I guess that just depends on the two drivers, kind of how well matched they are. But if you've got a especially with Monza with so many straights, then if you've got a faster car, then you're going to force your rival into using more of his ERS in kind of places where perhaps you don't need to. I think there will be ways around it, especially on a track like Monza, kind of maybe Mugello, where there's not so many overtaking opportunities. It's just kind of the home straight, really. I think it will be more of a problem there than Imola, maybe.
All right. I do worry that the racing might not be as good as usual with this. And that is the one.
Well, it's so good normally.
I'm interested to see it.
Even worse than.
I'm interested to see it in play because, like, it is a potential shake-up, and yeah, that's interesting. So, I mean, I'm not going to get my hopes up for anything, obviously, because you never do that in Formula One. That's just not what you do. But it's a bit, I mean, it could do something. I don't really think it'll have any difference to the racing, if I'm honest, because however fast the cars are is however fast the cars are when they race anyway. So I don't really think that's going to have too much of a difference. I mean, if one person's turning up, the person in front is going to turn it up, as Adam says. So that's just not a thing anymore. So that's it. If you're going to be close on track, you're going to be racing, end of, and that's it. That's all I can really think of to say to that.
I'm not sure. Because I do think...
I don't know if we're reading too much into it by discussing the racing anyway.
Yeah, true. Yeah, we'll see. It's an interesting rule change, 7 rounds in, and it could... Well, yeah, I don't really know what to say about it more than... but like you said, Freddie, I'm not hopeful, I guess, that it's going to improve the show. There was news on Tuesday, wasn't there, that the Turkish Grand Prix is going to sell £3 tickets. So who's going?
Me.
Adam. Who's going? Why do you?
It's an aspiration. So you got to just to clarify about it. It's not like they haven't been confirmed by this at all. Like, they want to sell tickets that is an equivalent price of £3 and have an audience of 100,000, which is, as on the face of it, kind of irresponsible. So I would say that that's probably going to be vetoed by Formula One and the FIA. I think it's come out from the Turkish promoters that they want to do this. They think they can do this. It's going to be back in November, so they're a bit like, oh, we can potentially do this. But when you're looking at the limited tickets they've got going on at the moment, I mean, Magella's going to have about 2,000 people there. I think it'd probably be, I don't know what they're doing for Estoril or Sochi. I think they're going for a few thousand as well.
Yeah, I think Sochi's 30,000, is it? Or is it 3,000?
Well, yeah, we won't really know.
Sure. Yeah.
Then we won't really have any confirmation on this for a good month or so.
Russia, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Russia. That's where Sochi is.
Yeah, it is.
I think it's a bit uncomfortable to hear it touted, but I don't think it will happen.
Okay, yeah.
I hope it doesn't. God.
That was Adam.
I feel like F1 lose more by having a COVID outbreak following one of their races than they'd gain by having a few thousand fans in. So I feel like in terms of the risk reward for that, it's a lot more weighted towards the risk.
Definitely agree with that. And F1 has done a fantastic job in the 7 races so far. You know, I think there was a lot of scepticism that the F1 shouldn't return because it's an international sport and it has 4,000 people and they fly around Europe and stuff. But, you know, it's been really good so far. Only a handful of people have tested positive.
International sport has followed suit, haven't they? You've got Champions League happened, US Open's happening now, cricket came back after F1 did. Yeah. So F1's led the way and it's done well.
Yeah, definitely. All right, shall we do a quiz?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, let's do it then, I guess. We've got 10 questions as usual. It's Freddie versus Adam. I think Freddie has won 3 times the quiz, or is it 4? 3 or 4. Anyway, he's leading. Adam has won just once, but he beat me, so that was good. That was a while ago now. But can he win today? That's the crucial thing. Yes, let's let's have the first question. Shout your name out if you know the answer to the question. How many corners are there at Monza? No one knows.
Adam. 11.
Oh, it's the right answer.
Yeah, I just worked it out. As I was on the parabolic, I was like, 11. Oh. 11.
Oh, that's 1 point to Adam. The Formula One Italian Grand Prix has been held at Monza for every season, apart from 1 year. Which year was that?
Freddie.
1980. It was 1980.
Was it Imola?
It was Imola. But you only get 1 point. So it's 1-1. Question 3. How many times has an Italian driver won at Monza?
Are we talking just World Championship? So since
F1 World Championship races.
Include blank pan, everything, yeah.
F1 World Championship races. So since
are we doing closest wins?
Freddie.
Yeah, closest wins. Ready?
Once.
Well, that's Adam.
I mean, I could just say 2. I'll go 5.
Yeah, it's 4. So Adam's
got
closest. The last time.
Arena.
Yeah.
Oh no.
So, yes, Scaffiotti. In 1966. He was the last Italian winner.
Did Bandini do it?
No, just those 3 drivers we mentioned. Yeah.
I'm always kind of amazed generally, given how F1 is kind of thought of as not thought of, but like Italy's one of the main F1 countries, at how few drivers there's been.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Recently, definitely.
Yeah, before Giovinazzi. Well. Before Giovinazzi, it was
Trulli,
maybe? Oh,
Trulli or Fisichella.
Julius Fisichella. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not many.
Not many. Question 4 is, Sebastian Vettel won his first F1 race at Monza in which year? Adam.
2008.
It was 2008, and Freddie definitely didn't know that one before the quiz.
I didn't know that
yeah,
was coming, no.
yeah.
I guessed the question.
Every day, Freddie.
It's 3-1 to Adam so far. Question 5. Who holds the qualifying lap record at Monza?
Freddie.
Freddie.
Yeah.
Kimi Räikkönen.
It is Kimi Räikkönen in 2018. And question 6 follows on from that. Closest wins. What was the average speed of the lap Räikkönen did in that year?
Freddie.
168
miles an hour.
168 miles an hour. Adam?
169.
It's 163. 163.785 miles per hour. That's very, very quick.
It is.
Yeah. It's the fastest lap in F1 history because last year it wasn't broken because of the qualifying farce thing. You know what the
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it could be broken this weekend though. We'll find out. Question 7 is, how many times has Max Verstappen been on the podium at Monza?
Freddie.
Adam.
I think Freddie was just quickest there.
He hasn't.
That's the right answer. Yeah.
That would have been my guess. Oh, my answer, yeah.
He got a 5-second penalty once for biffing Bottas out of the way.
That's right. Yeah, 2018, I think that was.
I think it was, yeah.
It's 4-3 to Freddie with 3 questions to go. I haven't got a tie-break question, so hopefully someone can win. Question 8 is, how many times has the pole sitter led after the first lap this season?
Oh, the season?
This season, yeah, 2020.
Adam. 7?
Yes, it's 7 from 7 every time.
Yeah,
I find that amazing, really, because if you look at other seasons, I'm guessing second or third place would have led after lap 1. After 7 races. I find that bizarre.
Yeah.
Will that continue on Sunday? So it's 4-4. Question 9 is, how many times has Brazilian Rubens Barrichello, or Kello, depending how you pronounce it, won the Italian Grand Prix?
Oh, Freddie. Twice.
That's the wrong answer.
Damn it.
Adam.
I'll go 3.
That's the right answer.
Oh.
He has last
Did he win
in 2009.
Yeah,
for Braun 2009 and twice for Ferrari. It is 5-4 to Adam as we go into the final question, which might not be the final question if Freddie can get it right. We will see. Here we go. Final question. What was significant about qualifying at the 2017 Italian Grand Prix?
Freddie.
Ready?
It was soaking wet and it went on for like an hour and a half. And
that's not the answer I'm looking for.
Lance Stroll started on the front row and Esteban Ocon was third.
Well, it cut out a bit before the Lance Stroll. What did you say?
Lance Stroll was second, Esteban Ocon was third because it was really wet and everyone had penalties and pretty much everyone had penalties. There's so much to it. It's a vague question.
Yeah, that's right, but that's not what I'm looking for.
Well, go away.
All right,
that was significant.
What was most significant?
Jolyon Palmer was in it.
Ferrari pole?
No, it wasn't
Hamilton was
Ferrari
in pole.
pole.
But Miles.
I don't know.
Ferrari weren't really into Q2. I can't remember though. No, they were like 7th or 8th. I can't remember. Oh.
It was something to do. If I say this, it will give it away. It was
Grosjean crashed in Q1.
No, it was something to do with a record.
Oh, is that where Hamilton became most pole positions?
Yeah,
I thought it was.
I mean, I was going to say that when I called my buzzer, but
yeah, it was Lewis Hamilton breaking Michael Schumacher's pole record, and at Monza. I think people forget that because I think people think it was Canada for some reason. I think it was Senna's record. Yeah. So, but it was.
I thought it was Spa, 'cause I saw a thing on Twitter the other day where they made a big deal out of it.
Oh, I think he might have equaled it there or something.
That makes sense, yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna have to find a tiebreak question now. I really should have come.
Yeah, it was just a vague question.
No, Freddie just shouted out the answer. I did my buzzer. And,
Yeah,
that
but
is a good
done
point,
buzzers
that.
by then.
Painful.
Yeah.
I'd listed out the entire day in Italy.
But you didn't give the right bit, and that's what's most important.
Yeah.
Give me a
Does this
number.
mean-
Here, I'll give you a question. Give me a number.
And I know what you're gonna do here.
Go on. Give me a number.
7.
Wrong. The answer was 9.
Yeah.
It was significant. Lance Stroll qualified in the front row.
You know, because of this, I'm not going to give Freddie the point. So I'm going to let Adam win this quiz because of the attitude from Freddie.
The attitude?
Saying
The
to the quiz
attitude? Write a
master,
question that works.
Look at this. It's just disgraceful.
Yeah.
I'm going to give
Well,
Adam
This is
the
the
win.
laziest
for
tiebreak
abusing
question
the
I've ever
referee.
seen.
You'd be thrown out for abusing the referee in motorsport.
Yeah. I'm going to give Adam the win. So it's 5-4 to Adam. So which means he gets his second win of the quiz. Freddie is very, very, very
I'm vexed.
bitter.
To be fair, I still think you didn't buzz for when you said your answer.
That's a very good point as well, Adam.
I stuck to the
You didn't
rules,
say it
buzzed in.
technically, Adam, to be fair. So if I buzz now, Freddie,
Freddie,
poll
So-
for Hamilton record. There we go. I buzzed and
Well,
said
no,
it.
I've still not said my answer. I buzzed, didn't give an answer because you did. So
I think we're losing viewers, so we're just going to have to give Adam the win, unfortunately.
thank you.
Come back next week for another quiz where I'm sure whoever is setting
be
it
doing
is
it.
going to give me a tough time. Because
No.
oh no, it's Adam, so he might.
It's going to be on Wigan.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know anything about Magello. God. In the
Let's finish
1997 MotoGP race.
Let's finish off with some predictions then for the weekend. Do we think in qualifying we're going to see a repeat of the slipstream fiasco that we saw last year?
I hope so. It was hilarious.
I quite liked it.
I did
One
as
race.
well.
It happened in Formula E as well in Berlin.
Yeah.
It was brilliant. And
Yeah.
it happened at the start of it. So the 4 champions of Formula E started at the back of the grid. It was brilliant. I mean, that won't happen in Formula 1, but... Because, but...
I find it fascinating. We saw a bit at Spa as well in qualifying, I think, with Ocon. He went really slow.
Yeah.
Back to Ricardo at one point.
They had about 4 minutes to get round or 3 minutes to get round
Yeah.
there, rather than leaving it to... We've got basically a flying lap's worth of time to get round.
Yeah.
And then only... I mean, everyone was being underhand there. It was quite funny.
My
we'll
favourite
find
was
out.
it Hulkenberg who skipped the chicane?
Yeah.
I think it was
But,
Stroll as well. Stroll did something as well, really quite naughty. It's like, oh no, I've missed the chicane.
Yeah,
Got to go really slowly.
exciting. Yeah. I'm looking forward to qualifying this weekend just for that and to see how everyone does on the outlaps and how slow they're going to go to not be first, which is very strange. Do we also think, as mentioned in the quiz, Kimi Raikkonen's lap record, the fastest lap ever in F1 history, do we think that's going to go this weekend?
No.
No party modes.
Yeah.
That's a good
And
point.
Mercedes' very low drag setup wasn't very good because they didn't run it at Spa. They didn't like running it. So we should have mentioned that much earlier in the podcast. That's quite interesting.
Yeah, that isn't. Yeah. I don't think it'll go because with last year it was close, and I think they would have done it without the fiasco at the end of Q3. So I do think it'll go. Personally,
That was with an illegal engine with Ferrari as well, though, in last year. So
true.
probably would have been a slam dunk last
I
year.
think Hamilton was only a 10th off in qualifying, though, wasn't he? Or was that the year before? I'm not sure.
I don't know. We're rambling.
Yeah, we are. Who do we think, if the record does go, who do we think is going to be on pole and get the race win? This boring question. Hamilton. Freddie?
Hamilton.
Hamilton. It's going to be a Hamilton weekend. Yeah, that's what.
Another one.
That's the conclusion.
Maybe Bottas, actually. I don't know. Just because. Who
Yeah.
knows?
Bottas doesn't go well round Monza, does he? I don't think, compared to other tracks.
Did it right in Williams, I think, from memory. Can't really remember. But
Yeah. All right, then. Before we
Yep.
go, is there anything that you two want to talk about? F1 related, of course, because it's an F1 podcast.
oh, F1 related. Oh.
I'd just like to point out, because it occurred to me the other day, that last year Ferrari had an illegal car and still didn't win the championship. Like, how embarrassing is that? That you have an illegal engine.
You have to rub it in, Adam. I think we all...
and you're still like not even near. I don't know, like when Leclerc fell out of contention for the championship, but yeah, just kind of that. It occurred to me the other day, and I thought, that's really poor. If you're going to cheat, at least win, and they didn't.
They got the most pole positions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That's great, isn't it? It's a great end to the
Didn't
podcast.
get the most championships, though.
No, they didn't.
Yeah. All right. So we all know that Adam hates Ferrari as much as I dislike Albon, even though I don't dislike Albon. And that
Not
is,
as much as that.
and that is the end of the episode. We will
Is it?
be back after the Italian Grand Prix to rant and ramble about what hopefully is a classic. Yeah. Bye-bye.
All right.